People of these American states united, welcome to the show, the Constitution explained in children's terms. Forget about Limbaugh and Beck. It's time to turn them off and tune in right here. Make yourself comfortable for the next 2 hours and be ready to be reaffiliated with the founding of our great union. This is the show you all have been waiting for. This is the show where you'll cast aside your indoctrination into the system of lies and relearn the construct of the Union of States as established and ratified in the year of 1789. I am your host, known only as Harry. I strive to assist the people of the states in recognizing the true heritage of liberty and freedom which the establishers of the Union of Individual States had in plan for their future generations. That heritage was not only misunderstood from the initiation of the contract between states, but it also was reconstructed into the monster which we endure today. The people have the power to cage that monster. However, extremely few recognize and utilize those powers. We will be maintaining strict rules of conduct when we are on the air and ask that all callers do the same. This is an educational show, and we desire that children are able to listen to the discussion here without fear of being offended with foul or hateful language. Please feel free to send a chat message or call into the show. The call-in number is 516-595-8117. That's 516-595-8117. We would love to hear from you. Well, hello, everybody. Tonight's show is Article 1, Section 3, explaining the Senate. From the day of acceptance of the Constitution for the United States of America, neither those who were to employ it in order to control, nor those who were to be controlled by it, comprehended its true form. The words on those pages, however, were not the fault, until the people comprehend as fact that, like mosquitoes to light, they are naturally attracted to authority while seeking some sort of provision. Nothing in the future will pan out any differently than it has in the past. The founders had not the intention of creating a single nation out of the 13 colonies when they drafted the Declaration of Independence. They certainly were not seeking to create a singular controlling entity and refer to it as their government. As the framers wrote the articles, sections, and clauses of the Constitution for the United States of America, they also were not seeking to create either a single nation or a single government. They sought only to bring all of the nations together, united for specific causes, and to perform certain tasks for each other. The fact is that no part, not even a morsel, of what the founders or the framers had in mind in the 1700s exist today. The complete construction, all of the pages, of what they created has been disassembled, disarranged, and reconstructed into the tyrannical monster we suffer today. We do not teach the real words of those pages in hopes of the immediate return to its construct. We won't be alive long enough to see the results. Most of us won't be. We teach it as a warning for the future. People must learn how to live without consenting power to those who they perceive will benefit themselves, for when people do that, it never turns out well. History has no other greater lesson to offer us than that. The Constitution for the United States of America, as ratified in 1789, did not grant the entity established by it any power to affect the lives of the people of the states. That is the main lesson to learn from our teachings. On the last show, we clarified this principle in describing the power of the people to restrain the Congress when it comes to the acceptance of the enforcement of laws which the Congress creates outside the boundaries of the contract. On this show, I'm going to give a brief description of the original design, and then I will cover the construct of the Senate, the state's voice in the Congress when it is in assembly. The Constitution for the United States of America established 3 separate entities in regards to its listed legislative powers. Each of these entities had their powers listed in exact detail. The House of Representatives, The House of Representatives is the only federal office in which the people of the states are to participate in voting to fill the seats. It is supposed to be the people's voice in the federal government, a limited voice. The people are to elect someone from their own district to represent their district in proceedings. These proceedings are only to pertain to the few enumerated powers, Article 1, Section 8, which included declaring war when the necessity arose. The people of the individual states and of their own individual district are to send their own representative with the desired instructions of what their own district expects the Congress to do for their community. It is the representative's responsibility to present the wishes of their district exactly as the people of their respective districts elected for them to present. The Senate is the office where the seats are supposed to be occupied by state appointment only. They are not to be appointed by the popular vote. The people of the states have their own legislatures, their own legislative branches. They are the people who are to appoint the U.S. senators into office. The only means of altering the U.S. Senate's occupation by the people is to elect replacements to their own legislative bodies of their own state. All direct taxing to fund the actions of the Congress of the United States of America are to be presented to the states in the form of a bill. Those taxes are to be apportioned to the states according to the populations of each of those states. The states are the ones who have the necessity to find ways to get their citizens to pay the bill. The Senate is the first level of keeping the voice of the people under control. The senators of each state are to keep the spending of the Congress under the reality of what each member's state can afford by taxing the people of their own state. The President is the President of the United States of America. That is not saying that the President is the President of the states nor of the people. The United States of America is purely the name, actually referred to as the style of government, given the Union of States in the first article of the Articles of Confederation. The President is not the executive branch of the states. The President is only the executive branch of the Assembly of the Congress. The President is the individual who is tasked to monitor the legislation coming out of the Congress and to keep the actions of the Congress within the boundaries of Article 1, Section 8, along with the remainder of the contract between states. The veto power is precisely for that reason and that reason only. The President is the only entity tasked with actual power to interpret the Constitution for the United States of America when it comes to the creation of legislation. The President is to be appointed by people who are chosen by the states. Each state makes their own decisions on how the electors for their own state are to be appointed. The election of the President is not to be through the process of popular vote. The President is the representative of the Union of States, not the representative of the people. There was never an amendment altering the structure of the electors to accommodate the popular vote. The process used today has nothing to do with the original plan. Today, the popular vote is cast and the electoral votes are calculated. The Constitution for the United States of America does not use the term electoral college, yet that is what the people are told is the constitutional process. Bouvier's Law Dictionary of 1856 does not even define the term. Thanks to the present 4-year cyclical sporting event, this plan has been altered gravely. Today, even without an amendment to the Constitution, the choice of President and Vice President takes place in a completely different method. That's it. 3 entities, 3 different means of appointment. The design was somewhat ingenious. Article 1, Section 3, Clause 1. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, chosen by the legislature thereof for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. It was up to the people of their own state to determine how their state legislative body chose who assembled in the Congress as their state's representation. It was not up to the people of a state to choose their U.S. senators. Amendment 17 changed this clause in that it placed the senators into office upon the popular vote. From that point, the voice of the people has grown louder than designed because now both entities are occupied by the winner of popularity tournaments. Both positions in the Congress have since been affected by the whims of the masses, and both positions pander to those whims in order to stay in office. Amendment 17. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, elected by the people thereof. It's important to understand that this amendment was not ratified by law, not by a constitutionally lawful Congress, nor lawfully existing legislative branches of the individual states. All of these entities operate under the 14th Amendment. The destructivity of our republics due to the democracy installed in our states under the 14th Amendment is evident in the altering of the crucial original design of the entities of the government of the United States of America. Again, it is most essential to remember that the United States of America is not the states themselves. Our republics were specifically designed to not be democratic in form of government. Democracy has been the death of every society which has ever developed on this planet, and the framers knew that. Democracy is when everyone desires laws to control and taxes to rob their neighbor. They generally never think about those laws and taxes being enforced upon themselves. The elected strive to create those laws and taxes in order to win the favor of the people, in order to win re-election, and in order to remain in office. Democracy always divides the people and keeps them at odds with each other. The Republican-Democrat paradigm of today is a prime example and proof of this theory. The Senate was designed to be the voice of the state's legislature and was intended to soften the voice of the people when conflicts in the legislation between the people and the states rose to the federal level. The Senate was the voice of the state pushing back upon the people's voice. Without these principles returned to and adhered to, there is no reason to even consider the constitutionality of any of what presently is in place. Only the complete plan works. This jumbling of the principles is how we got into this mess and is the exact reason the people of these American states are kept in constant divide over every possible issue under the sun. The people in these offices are not to be legislating upon the people. They have no powers to do so. It is the false indoctrination of the people into consenting to these powers which keep the people up in arms over who is in the elected chairs. If we didn't have legislation emanating from these offices, the people wouldn't give as much importance to who was elected, and there would be far less division in our daily lives for the people to find the necessity to constantly consume their resources. Clause 2. Immediately after they shall be assembled in consequence of the first election, they shall be divided as equally as may be into 3 classes. The seats of the senators of the first class shall be vacated at the expiration of the 2nd year, of the 2nd class at the expiration of the 4th year, and of the 3rd class at the expiration of the 6th year, so that 1/3 may be chosen every 2nd year. Rather than the possibility of a complete replacement of the Senate every 2 years, as is in the House of Representatives, there was only the possibility of a complete replacement of the Senate every 6 years. However, it was to be done in thirds, 1/3 every 2 years. There is no requirement, however, of replacement. A reappointment of a senator was always allowed if the respective state's legislature preferred to keep a senator in place. If vacancies happen by resignation or otherwise during the recess of the legislature of any state, the executive thereof may make temporary appointments until the next meeting of the legislature, which shall then fill such vacancies. The executive authority of a state, which is usually the governor, will fill any vacancy which arrives in the Senate with a temporary senator when one of that governor's state senators is no longer available or able to complete their term as senator, and during a time where that state's legislature is not in assembly, until the legislative branch of that state meets and appoints another or approves the temporary to finish out the term of the vacant seat. Clause 3. No person shall be a senator who shall not have attained to the age of 30 years and been 9 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state for which he shall be chosen. The first part of this clause is easy to understand. To take the position of U.S. Senator, the individual must be 30 years of age or older. By the way it is worded, the individual does not need to be 30 on election day, but must have reached the age of 30 by the time of being sworn into the position. Let's point out that the sentence structure in this clause can be a little confusing. The words, not when elected, be an inhabitant of that state for which he shall be chosen, sounds as if the person being elected cannot be an inhabitant of the state which they are elected in. The reader needs to include the who shall not earlier in the sentence, which makes this a double negative and reassures the reader that the one to be elected must be an inhabitant of the state which they are being elected in as a U.S. Senator. It is important to point out here as to what the term inhabitant is defined as. Bouvier's Law Dictionary of 1856 defines inhabitant as one who has his domicile in a place is an inhabitant of that place, one who has an actual fixed residence in a place. Since throughout the document there is no other mention of the people of the states being citizens of the United States before the non-ratified Amendment 14, all the while the terms citizens of each state and citizens of the several states are mentioned in Article 4, Section 2, it has been accepted that the mention of citizen of the United States in this clause is not labeling the people of the states as citizens of the United States. Because of the sentence fragment, been 9 years a citizen of the United States, the requirements of being a U.S. Senator is that an individual needed to have been a citizen of one of the states in the Union for 9 years and must, at the time of election, again, at the time of the election that did not apply to the age limit, be an inhabitant of the state for which they are being elected. Clause 4. The Vice President of the United States shall be President of the Senate, but shall have no vote unless they be equally divided. The Vice President is the President or Chief Officer of the Senate when in assembly, however holds no capacity to vote on the passing of a bill unless there is a tie, and then the Vice President casts the final and deciding vote. Clause 5. The Senate shall choose their other officers, and also a President pro tempore in the absence of the Vice President, or when he shall exercise the office of President of the United States. All other officers of the Senate shall be chosen by the Senate, including a temporary President of the Senate, if the Vice President is absent, which includes if the Vice President is taking the office of President for any reason that office becomes vacant. Clause 6. The Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. The House of Representatives is the only body which can bring forth an impeachment case. the Senate is the only body to try the case. When sitting for that purpose, there shall be an oath or affirmation. The Congress is to determine an oath to be taken by the members of the Senate before hearing a case of impeachment. That oath should most likely include each senator affirming that they will hear the case and try it on merit and content, not on personal opinion of the person being tried. There should be no previous prejudice against the accused by the senators who are hearing the case. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside, and no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. If it is the President who is being tried, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court will preside over the hearing. Senators are also to be part of the proceedings. In all impeachment trials, it is necessary to be a vote of conviction by a minimum of 2/3 of the senators present in the hearing in order to convict the accused. Clause 7. Judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. But the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law. In a trial of impeachment, the only punishment allowed upon the convicted is removal from their elected office. This clause guarantees the ability for some other entity, a state, or some other person to seek damages or conviction after the impeachment has been carried out. Well, that's pretty much the show for tonight, unless somebody calls in. I've got a caller there that doesn't seem to be there when I answer. I kind of recognize that phone number. If you can hear me, press the 1 button. Oh, there you go.
Hello.
Are you there now?
Hello.
Is this Ed the Anti-Fed?
Yes, it is, man. How's it going? It was good. Nice little speech you had today. I liked it.
Thanks. I thought that was your number. Well, there was 2 people. It was either you or somebody else by that number I saw on my caller ID. So I said, that's one of those 2. So how are you doing?
Well, that's good that you're keeping it up. Pretty good. I'm feeling a little better. Over my cold filings. That's a couple weeks ago when I talked to you guys. Were you on last week?
No, we weren't. And I don't know if we're going to be on every week. That 30 minutes of writing, recording, and editing, I just managed to get that uploaded, finished editing, and uploaded it 15 minutes before the show. I'm putting as much as I can into each show. So I don't know if we're going to be on every week or not. But no, we were not out last week. And then this week, Paul's got problems with his computer, so he's not going to be on.
You went in the 17th Amendment some today. That was kind of a amendment that really took the power away from the states, the state legislators and the people of the states.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a bad thing.
Yeah, and the people need to. The people need to understand the what and the whys of it, and hopefully I explained it pretty good.
Yeah, you did. It's basically, hey, the legislator, that's the way our founders wanted it. They were from states that formed federal government, and the states are more important. So we're gonna have our legislator, because this is where our power is at. But popular. You got into the popular vote, how it can be, just. And like it is corrupted today, it's all about money. Who's got the most money, and like we got Rick Scott because he got tons of money. It's our senator, and it's just we got popularity,
And if we were following the original plan, and we weren't allowing them to make all this legislation that they have no power to make other than our consent, we wouldn't be into that mess. We wouldn't have them buying laws because the people wouldn't be able to make the laws.
Right, they wouldn't be able to make bad laws because there's our House would say, no, we're going to pull our Senate. You're not going to be our senator anymore if you're going to vote for that.
Yeah, and they wouldn't even be trying to make the laws because there would be no benefit to them if we were following the original plan.
Right now, it's like, oh, look what I did. I gave you this, I gave you that, I brought this in. They're like, vote
But
for
we're not
me,
going to
I'll
tell you
set
what it costs
free.
you.
Cost you your liberty.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And they just put you in debt with fake money. I did this.
Yeah, they do.
Vote for me.
Yeah,
And they
do.
keep voting. And that's all. And you're right on. You said talking about that. The states were able to control the senators rather than the senators control the minds of the people through propaganda.
Yep.
And that's what we got today. You know.
Yep, it's all about Republican form of government, and we are not. We are Democratic form of government, bordering communism, and who knows which side of that line we're on.
Not that was only maybe 5% or 10% of people could vote when the country was founded. You know.
Yeah, and the rest of the people didn't care because there were the people that were paying the bill to build postal roads and protect patents and build what do they call them? Not magazines where they store armories. And the people that were paying the bill were the ones voting. Well, yeah, go ahead and build that. I feel like we should have that armory. The people that weren't paying in, they didn't care. The laws that were the legislation coming out of the Congress didn't affect them.
There wasn't much coming out of the Congress.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't a full-time job.
Should be. Right.
It wasn't a full-time job.
That's going to be hard to get back to that, man. And it goes in cycles. You know, it's right now, it's like they own the Democratic and Republican parties. And, 85% of the Americans, right, and they got the Democratic and Republican needles up their arms. They're like,
yep.
I guess the Democratic, it's the Republicans' fault. The Republicans say, it's your fault. I mean, it's basically, it's a tough battle. I've been battling Republicans and Democrats since, the impeached King Nixon days. And, institutional draft and the Vietnam War. And basically, I've always had battles with almost all my friends. Either they were Republicans or Democrats. I tried to pull the needle out of their arms. But they're so, and that's what they latch onto. The people are taught to latch onto that. And it's all the Republicans' fault. No, it's all the Democrats' fault. No, we're not following the Constitution, and you don't know it, and that's what our fault is. And you try to solve that, but
and try to convince these people they do not know what that document says. They just don't.
No,
you just can't convince them that they don't.
95% of people in this country have no idea of what the Constitution is, what it came about, how it came about. They kind of know some basic. Yeah, I think Jefferson wrote something or somebody else wrote something, and if you tell them what the articles are, they're not going to understand the article. They know that there's a Congress and the Senate. They know the three branches, but how they actually work and were protected, and how they've been perverted and stuff.
Oh, by the way, I'm about 1/4 through Apostles of the Revolution.
Oh yeah.
In other words, I got it. I'm about 1/4 through. I'm liking it. I like how they lay out, really explain who those guys were, and show them how they grew up and the different stages of their life. And
you're talking about how the Monroe and Paine and Jefferson. Yes. Yeah,
I'd really like that.
Revolution. It is a good book, man. It is a good book, man.
It's hard to get me to grab a book and get much past 10, 20, 30 pages. I've put so many books down. This one's keeping my attention. When I get a chance, I'm reading.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because, Monroe almost followed it. Like, Paine was, probably 5-10 years older than Jefferson. And then Jefferson, and then Monroe was 15 years younger.
Young. Yeah, he was young,
brother or whatever. He was young.
In fact,
he was only 18.
I think
he was 18 or put it in there. He was only 18 during the Revolution.
Yeah, when
so I think
when him and Paine went to war, Paine was 40, Monroe was 18. Yeah, 22 years.
Yeah, so they're 22 years apart, and I think Paine was 7 years older than Jefferson, or 10 years, somewhere right around there. But it was just something that he was willing to fight So was Monroe. Monroe, those guys. Well, basically, it's like all three of the beauty of the apostles of the Revolution is that both Paine, Jefferson, and Monroe were not only involved deeply in the Revolution in America, but they also went to France during the French Revolution. So all three of them got to see it. And, well, Paine especially because he went to England first, and he almost got hung in England. He escaped to France, and then in France, with all the crazy stuff going on, he almost got his guillotine there. And Monroe, by the time he was there before Jefferson was there before he got there. Jefferson was there in the 80s, right when the Revolution started in 89. And at that time, Paine was just coming over from England. And I think they met each other real quick, and Jefferson was on his way back to take his position. If you look into the book, it'll show that.
Yeah,
and then, yeah. And once he came back, Jefferson came back, took his place as Secretary of State. And Paine was, well thought of there, and they all liked him a lot until the revolution started going way south in 92 and 93 when the Reign of Terror came. And he watched a lot of people, and he got thrown in jail himself for 10 months. He almost got guillotined himself, but the door was open.
You didn't push the spoiler alert button on your phone before you started telling me all this. No.
The spoiler alert? Oh, yeah, I should have known. Yeah. Well, you're going to get into it,
No. I appreciate everything you're putting on air, and I don't care if it's before I read it or not.
Yeah. Well, the appreciate, and then when he was still in jail, and Governor Morris left him there, and he got mad that Washington, Governor Morris, would leave him in jail because after he donated so much to the American Revolution, after he wrote, on Common Sense, when he wrote Common Sense, he donated all that money to Washington's army, and he helped, and he actually fought in the army, and now they're leaving him in jail. So he wrote kind of when he got there, Monroe, he read the letter. He says, you can't send this letter to Washington, because it was just, everybody knew that Washington was a private guy. He was sort of like the CIA, NEA, everything wrote, or DEA, or everybody rolled into one, because he was like, he had to keep the whole country together. And you can't criticize him. People just didn't criticize Washington. So after a while, but then, he did get out of jail. And then finally, before he came over, and this was right when Washington was dying, he didn't come back over to 1802. Washington already passed. But before he came over, I think in 1799, Monroe had already gone back. He did publish an open letter to Washington in all the papers in the United States. Not a good idea to make you popular, even though you fought in the Revolution and you wrote Common Sense. Yeah. And then he got back over there. When he did get over there, he did, but Jefferson didn't want to meet him too much. But they did have a good 6 to 10 lunches together, and Paine kept saying, you must Louisiana territory off of Napoleon. He will sell to you. He's in desperate need, and he kept harming on that. And he says, and plus, if you buy that, then you can resettle the blacks to Louisiana territory and give them their freedom. I think that's what he wanted. But he's a dreamer. He was a dreamer, but he was also an inspirer. Paine. So take them for what you like. Everybody has their own way of looking at things. Jefferson looked at things one way. Paine looks at, just like you guys look at things one way. Somebody else looks at a thing another way. It's easy to say, the 14th Amendment's the point where it came. But if my one friend's doing this, the one guy thinks it's Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, because Congress can make all the laws in that 10 square mile area for the District of Columbia, or D.C. So they make the laws for that, but then they put the laws through the whole country. It's
through the 14th Amendment. Well, through the 14th Amendment.
Yeah, they used the 14th Amendment too, but they were also using it even to start the Bank of the United States, because that's what the Hamilton used as a premise. He says, we can start this bank here because we're allowed to make the laws, any law or anything we want is dream up for the District of Columbia. And I'm dreaming up this Bank of the United States. And
you know what?
And that was his argument. And that's why this guy's argument, and he's got a site, it's called Patriot, I think I told you guys, it's Patriot Corps, like Marine Corps, only Patriot Corps. And he goes back to that part.
I bet you that's in my stack of notes that I just never get time to go through all the little things I want to do. And, another reason we weren't on last week is I worked so hard the previous week. I got our YouTube channel up, and I got all the shows up till tonight on YouTube. If anybody searches, searches the U.S. Constitution explained in children's terms, they'll find me. And then if they click on the round icon when they find that, it takes it to your channel.
Okay, but it's no pictures. It's just voice, right?
Well, I add pictures. Yeah, that's what's the biggest, hardest part. That working that program that converts it to a video, and then I can add pictures. The last show were Article 1, Sections 1 and 2. I got all kinds of pictures that progressively go through as I'm speaking. When I mentioned Jefferson, I got a picture of Jefferson there, that kind of thing. No, I think I did a pretty good job on that. Yeah.
Oh, cool, man. I'll have to check that out.
It's only been up a week, and I've already had, I think, 200 views, or near 200 views now.
Nice.
Which excites me a little bit.
Of people. Yeah, that's good, man. I mean, there's a lot of people out there with the Constitution, and it's good, man. You know, I mean, we need everybody and everybody's views and ideas. Like I said, I mean, I have no problem. I believe 14th is one of the worst amendments of all time. So, I mean, but I can also say other ones. But then there's other points like that one guy, Patriot Corps, believes that, you know, they're making these laws in D.C. and they started corrupting it right from the get-go when he started the Bank of the United States rather than free market bank.
Well, I get a big kick out of people when they talk about we got to have term limits. Well, term limits is at the voting booth, and then they thought, well, they should have to follow the laws they make. Well, actually, if it wasn't for the 14th Amendment applying the laws they make to us, the only laws they were able to make was upon themselves. Through Clause 17.
Yeah, right. And term limits, like you said, it's supposed to be. Yeah, and it would have been nice if they. I would still probably prefer they did do it because they had term limits in the Articles of Confederation. But you know, Madison term limited out. I don't think he liked that because he was born to be a career politician, and it just his stature and his ability to really get down into notes and think his thought and stuff, you know what I mean? So I guess that's the main reason we didn't have term limits. I mean, it was proposed when the Constitutional Convention, just never put into place.
Yeah.
But Rick Scott, our senator in Florida, just proposed term limits in a law. Our new elected senator was our governor, and he took our gun rights off us right before he became senator. For 18 and 21-year-olds aren't allowed to buy guns in our state now. It's ridiculous. But
when
that's what Rick Scott did. But
when they're actually, according to the Clause 16, supposed to be supplied with a weapon once they're 18 and training.
Yeah. And that wouldn't be a bad idea to, have local. Well,
if we went back to Clause 16, militia, where the government and the Militia Act of 1792, where the government is to supply the training and the armament for everyone from a certain age to a certain age, providing they're able. Of course, it was originally male, but I'm sure it would be female by now. We'd have kids with so much more respect, so much more purpose in life. We wouldn't have the police forces because when you were in trouble, you'd call your neighbor. I mean, if we could go back to that, but I don't know how. I don't know how you'd go back to that today. But if we could, it would be so much better. And we'd have so much more money in our pocket. I mean, in our state, the pensions for retired officers is now costing more than the officers on duty.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's
It's
just
crazy.
wrong.
It's not,
That's
you know,
just
I mean,
wrong.
it's just, yeah, I hear you. And you know, and boy, California, some of their local councilmen and stuff, they're going to get $400,000 a year pension.
Yeah.
They don't give them all ridiculous, and they kind of like blew that open. But I mean, that's what they do. That's what government does.
Somebody was complaining on Facebook from California. The registration for their car in a year is $731.
That's crazy.
Nuts. That's nuts.
What they do is force most of them people. You know how many sanctuary cities and how many illegals they got there. You know they're funding the illegal tags.
Yeah.
You know, it just makes the whole situation. I mean, you know, it's like it makes people not even follow the law anymore when you have so many bad laws.
Yep. Well, yeah, they did just like printing money out of thin air. Nobody really respects money anymore, and the same with laws. If they print them out of thin air, nobody respects them anymore. They're not even real laws.
They don't even know. Right. Exactly. It should go back to common law. Yep. And that's what we should be under is common law. You know, not under maritime law. The 14th Amendment put us under maritime statutory law. That's bad stuff. That's what we got to get away from, man. And you know, there's a common law grand jury. That movement's pretty big, and you know,
more and more people are learning that.
Yeah, that's I'm a member of one of their, I'm one of their tours for my county, and we've had a meeting there. But I look at it like, like most of the stuff we're doing it until we actually go to the streets and take over again. And all this other stuff is just going to be, but it's good to educate, and we need to know all these things.
Well, I don't know if you caught my first paragraph or two. I explained that in my paragraph that we're not really looking to restore. We're trying to get people to understand you don't put people in power to create legislation upon yourself. You just don't do it.
Right. They're supposed to preserve it. Like, I don't know if you ever read David Crockett's speech before you went over to the Alamo.
I've heard it, but it's been a long time.
If you heard it, or just you probably Google and hear it again or read it. Right. It's just great. He just says, "Hey, I'll take some money out of my own pocket for this widow from the, from the Texas War or one of the wars, whatever it was, and because Alamo for the War of 1812, man, because Alamo came like around 1830s or something. But I don't know which war it was. Maybe it was fighting the Indians or something. But he said, I'll take money out of my pocket and donate it, but we don't have any right to take off somebody else's funds.
Mm-hmm. I just jotted that down to look it up. I just jotted that down to look it up. Of course, that's probably in the same pile of all the other stuff that I need to get to. But
yeah, I hear you. But I'm glad you're reading that book. That was a good book. I put that in my top 100 books. Yeah. So, anyways, just called in to say I was listening. Appreciate it, man. I appreciate anybody who gets the Constitution. And the 14th Amendment definitely was one of the worst. Like for me to pinpoint, that's the only thing we could change. I mean, the Civil War is the worst thing that ever happened to our country, and happened before the 14th Amendment.
We wouldn't have had the 14th if it wasn't for the war.
Right, that's what brought the 14th on. It was the Radical Republicans who wrote it. Yeah. So the Radical Republicans are the ones that gave us what you're fighting. Know your enemy, and that's who they were. And they were basically, they were all about power and chase and and about money, and they printed money, and they were in the draft and manipulating people, and that's all they were. But that war should never happen in the first place. But they pushed them, and Lincoln was right with them.
Yep.
They should try working out peacefully, but never gave it a chance, man.
Yeah, well, or let them secede and then stop trading with them. That's what they should have done.
Yeah, exactly. Let them succeed and then ask them to come back here, quit trading with them, exactly, and go from there and just explain to the rest of the people. Now, but England and France would have probably traded with them. But they could try to at least get them back in. Hey, what do we got to do?
Well, the plain simple plain simple fact is slavery has not been eliminated. So that war did nothing.
Right. Right. Well, Spooner says it good in his book because Spooner hated that. We hated the Constitution after that. But Spooner said that, basically, that they made more slaves instead of freeing the slaves. They made slaves out of the rest of us. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Of course, he's probably the biggest hater of the whole war and 14th Amendment. But anyways, I'm glad you're reading that book because that book there, if I could ask you to read one book, that might be it. Because it's nice. It's a history and it goes right in with the Constitution and it's there's just so much good stuff in that book. There you go.
Yep.
Well, Harry, I'm going to let you go now.
Yep, I'm going to go ahead and get off.
Book. And it's good. It's always good listening to people talk about the Constitution. So,
well, I'm pretty sure if I don't, with doing my research each time and try to make my to work on getting things right, I don't know if I'm going to do a show every week.
Right, every other.
Every week or every other. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just look.
That's what I'm going to do. When I have a show prepared, I'm going to do a show, and if I skip a week, I'm going to make sure I don't skip another one. So
that's cool.
All right, as usual, it's nice talking to you.
You too, man. Tell Paul I said hi.
I will.
Bye.
Take care. All right. Well, I don't know if anybody is still listening. I don't see any comments on our Facebook page, and I don't have my co-host here to monitor anything else. I got no callers in my queue. I'm going to go ahead and end the show. And actually, we did pretty good for not having co-hosts and only having one caller. Still stayed on air for over an hour, so we'll catch you guys next time. Hopefully, I'll be ready for another show next week. If not, it'll be 2 weeks. But like it or not, I'll be back. I would like to thank everyone for listening in tonight. Whether you listened in live, whether you are listening to a recording in our Blog Talk Radio archives, or whether you are viewing us on our YouTube channel, we humbly appreciate your presence. For those of you who are not already viewing our YouTube channel, you can find us by searching YouTube for the Constitution Explained in Children's Terms. Not only should the results be our individual shows, there should also be an icon to click to take you to our channel, where you will find all of our shows listed as we manage to get them uploaded. For those of you who would like to join our Facebook group, I don't know the workings of Facebook, nor understand why a Facebook search for the U.S. Constitution Explained in Children's Terms does not bring up our group. You can find me and send me a private message asking me to add you to our group. Do a Facebook search for Harry, that's Harry, know him as Noemas. Send me a friend request and a private message telling me that you would like to be added to our group, and I will accept and add you. That's our show for tonight. However, I would like to leave you with an important thought. We cannot repaint the past. We cannot even recolor today. Tomorrow is a whole different story waiting for us to mark it whatever shade we prefer. Good night, everyone.